Hey guys, I'm Chef D-Max. Welcome back to the kitchen. Today we're going to do some tortilla shells. How great is that? There's so many nice flours out there to utilize and make really great tasting tortillas rather than just buying the cheap ones you find in the store. So stay with me. I'm going to teach you how to make them. Click subscribe. Give me a thumbs up if you love this video and ring that bell and I'll send you new stuff I have coming up. So see you back in a second. Okay guys, corn tortillas. We all love them. Actually, some people like flour tortillas better, but I love corn tortillas. In Mexico, really corn is, in most areas, corn is definitely the preference. It's kind of the heartbeat of Mexican culture and cuisine. So, you know, corn, oh, did you see me just do that? They have to make them like this. They couldn't make just a simple opening, right? But anyway, it's corn flour, so it's perfect. Actually, what this is it's masa harina. What is masa harina? And let me explain a little bit of the corn history because people don't understand. It's not corn flour. Masa harina has basically been corn that is nixtamalled. And that's a weird word, nixtamal. And it means to kind of cook the corn with some limestone or what they call culinary lime as well. And that does is helps to break down the corn itself. It changes its nutritional value, and it tenderizes the corn. So a lot of times I have one restaurant where we actually nixtamal the corn in the restaurant, which you don't see very often happening. You see it in Mexico, you'll see it in tortilla factories, but you don't see restaurants doing it. So we were actually getting 2,000 pounds of corn from this company, Hacienda, the whole corn from Oaxaca, organic corn. And then what we did was we'd cook it in water, culinary lime, and then we would have to peel the shells off of that, peel the outer skin of the corn off with our fingers. It would get papery and come off easily. And then we would grind that, and we make you make your masa, which is the wet kind of soft, not wet, but the damp dough that you make your fresh corn tortillas with. And if you've ever been down to Mexico, you'll see, there'll be, people on the street with who are making tacos on the street. They'll have their big mound of masa there with a towel over it, and then they'll take it out, roll the ball, press it, and make a corn tortillas. And that's what we're going to do. But one of the cool things that happens is you'll see some other varieties, the mass variety of masa harina, which is basically if you took that corn, you cooked it, and then you dried it and made a powder out of it. Now it's ready to make masa again, right? It's not fresh masa that's been fresh cooked and grinded and done, but that's the process of that's very hard because we don't have home grinders. The grinder needs to be big stone grinders to get it really smooth and nice. It would be too coarse. So what they've done is made masa harina, which is a powder, and this is what most people in households will use. The only difference with this one is Hacienda put this out, and they don't even pay me to say this, you guys, but they have, if you can go online and look for their stuff, and I'll put a link on there for you. I'm trying their white corn masa today, and the difference is they're using amazing corn. And I'm going to take this, and you're talking to her about the packaging, make it a little bit easier to open, but maybe that was just my fault, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start. I think 1 cup of masa will make about 10 tortillas, which is fine for me at home, right? And then after I'm done with this, I'm going to put this in a mason jar because it's just going to be easier to keep it dry and keep any kind of bugs out and everything like that. So, boom, here we go. I have my 1 cup of masa, right? And I'm going to put this in this bowl. Now, I'm going to use 1 cup of kind of warm water here. And I'm going to put a little bit in at a time. Let's see, about a cup. There we go. There's a cup. So why don't we put some in here to start? I'll put half of it. How about that? And I'll start just with my fingers, moving it around, hydrating it, right? That's what I wanted to show you guys is how easy this is. Now, I'm going to do this on a comal, which is traditional ceramic that they use to cook their tortillas with over open fire. But for you guys at home, you could use a cast iron pan. You could use a non-stick pan. There's actually, you can use, some of you have those pancake makers where you just pull them out, those electric pancake makers. Those work great too. Stick it on a medium-high setting will make your tortillas out of that. So with this, we're just gonna kind of keep hydrating this. And what we're doing, like I said, this corn has been cooked with culinary lime. It's been peeled, it's been ground really fine, and then it's been dried from there. Once they dry it out into a powder, it stays a lot longer. So all you're doing at this point is rehydrating it, right? So I'm going to take more water, and I'm going to put that rest of that cup in here. So it's 100% hydration on this. And what you're looking to do, and I'll show you, what you're looking for is a dough that is really like Play-Doh almost. It's really soft. It's really, you don't need to work it for a certain amount of time like a flour dough to develop gluten. We're not trying to do that. All you're trying to do is bring this together. You can see I'm just bringing this together, and it stays moist like this. Now, you know, it's coming off of the bowl like this, right? It's sticking, it's sticky. It doesn't stick to my hand. And then that's it. I like to put a little salt in it. And I don't usually put any oil in it. It doesn't really need oil. Like normally when you make masa that you're putting fat in it and stuff, you're making like a gordita. It's a little bit different. What we don't want to do is we don't want to keep this from puffing, right? So what you want to do is kind of like how you see a pita bread puff, right? When we put it on the comal, it'll have air in between the dough, and that'll cause it to puff up, and that's what we're looking to do. Now I'm going to take a piece of this off, and I'm going to test it, right? I'm going to roll it around in my hand, and it's moist. You can see it rolls into a beautiful smooth ball. And then what you want to do, wow, the smell is amazing, because these are, like I said, this is organic heirloom corn from Mexico. It's not going to be anywhere near the same as some of the other stuff. So you want to press it, and what you don't want is to see cracks on the ridge of the dough. So the dough is nice and moist, which is perfect. Now what's going to happen as it sits, it's going to suck up that moisture because it's been dry, and that's going to suck more of that in. So we might have to add a little bit more after we let it rest. So we'll see, but it should be close at this point. So when we look at this, we press it, right, and we don't see cracking. Like the edges, you don't want them to crack, right? So you see like that, you see like how we get this little bit of cracking in there. I'm going to actually put just a touch more water, okay? Because we want to keep this dough very moist and soft. Okay, now at this point, what I'm going to do, the dough is beautiful. It's nice and kind of wet. Not fully wet because, you know, so you see it sticks to my hands, but it comes off, right? And that's what you want. And it's a little sticky now, which is going to be good because when I let it rest, it's going to suck up that moisture, okay? And you'll see what it looks like when I'm done. So let's let this rest for about an hour. I let it, or you can do 30 minutes to an hour, room temperature, and then we're going to try these out. So we'll see you back in a little bit. Okay guys, I'm going to show you how this comal gets seasoned. This is a comal. It's basically just a very rustic, you can see how porous this is on the back, ceramic. And they use this in Mexico to cook right over the fire. And it cooks, it's non-stick, it cooks really easily, and it's nice. And the way that you're going to season it is you use this culinary lime. This is that pickling lime that I was telling you about when you make masa harina. You cook it together in there, and I add this in. You want to be careful. This isn't good to eat. You know, you don't want to digest a lot of this, but you want to just utilize it to coat this, and then we're going to cook it on here. But again, you don't want to be eating this stuff. Okay, I mean you can eat it when it's cooked, but yeah, when it's raw like this, what I'm looking to do is create this like kind of lime liquid here, and I'm going to paint my comal with this. And it's gonna, you can see how this, we just put the liquid on and paint it around. And what's gonna happen is I'm gonna heat this up, and it's that cowl is gonna kind of coat this and create this barrier. And I think the Mexicans probably use this as like almost like a nonstick when they added it to their comals to seal the pottery. But it's also probably something that they had around that they were using. They were using it to make their masa harina anyway, and they found that it worked good as a barrier and a sealant for the pottery. So with this, if you don't have this, you don't have to do any of this. I'm just showing you this because I have it and I like cooking my tortillas on it. But you can cook this right on a cast iron pan. It's the same thing, you know, kind of when you have your cast iron pan and you've salted it and put oil on it and get it hot and sear it, and you're not washing it a lot. That's what it tends to be like that. So with this, we're going to turn this on. Let me check this. Let me make sure this is on. There it goes. I'm going to go to medium heat, and I'm going to let this kind of get hot on here. And what you're going to see as this gets hot is the water evaporates, and then this lime or this cal is on there, and that will coat this barrier. At that point, we're just going to lightly brush it off, the excess dry, and then we're ready to cook our tortillas on it. Okay, so let me see how long it'll take to dry this out, and we'll be right back. Take a look at this now. You can see how it's starting to dry, and it's getting powdery, and that's what we want. And what we want to do is just at this point brush off, I'm brushing it towards the middle, and I'm going to turn this off now, and I'm going to get a towel and pick this up, and I'm going to brush all this, see this excess, and I'm going to throw this in the trash, okay? Because you don't need all that excess on there. But you can see now it's coated very nicely, right? And from that, we're going to cook right on top of that. So we're going to get our tortilla or our batter ready, our masa ready. When that's ready, we're going to go ahead and cook some tortillas. So we'll see you back in a second. Okay, we're back. We're going to make some tortillas now. So here I've got a traditional tortilla press. You can buy these. They're really cheap at the store. And then I use, basically, this is, you can see it's one of those hefty Ziploc bags. I've just cut it so it opens up. And what that does is it allows it to kind of go in here and press this without it sticking. Comes off really easy. So I like to use that. Works really nice. So with this, I'm just going to take a pinch of my dough here. You can see, right? Not too much. The little balls should be like that size, probably like a little bit smaller than a golf ball. If you make them too big, then they're not gonna be as they're harder to do them nice, I think. So with this, we're gonna stick it in the center of this, and I'm gonna cover that with some more plastic on top and press it just a little, and then I'm gonna press. Don't jam on this thing. Just go gentle with it like this. Down really smooth and slow. About halfway there, we're going to flip it, and I want to press it there because it is on a hinge, so you know you don't want it to be lopsided. So you flip it 180 degrees, and then you press a little bit more. Okay, now you can see this one, I got a little thin on that side, so I'm actually going to put it back the other way and do it just a touch more on that. So now our tortilla is ready to go. Our comal is heated up here nicely, and I'm going to look at the flame. I want like a medium heat, right? Medium heat on that. And then what I'm going to do is, you can see I'm just going to open this up at this point. Whoops. And then if you do it you don't want to do it too thin either. Like, let's see. See how these like kind of pulled like that? I want it to be a little bit, so it might be a little bit wet still. If it's a little wet, I want it to dry out a little bit. So I'll test this and I'll see if I can pull it off. If I can't pull it off smooth like that, you see I can't pull it off smooth, that means it's a little too wet. It just needs to dry up a little bit more, okay? So I'm going to give it, let me give it probably like a couple minutes and then to dry up this dough. And what it does is it kind of absorbs the water. If you put too much water, then you could always add a little bit more of your dough in there. That's fine as well, because it is usually like a 1-to-1 ratio, and that tends to work perfect for this. Let's let this dry up a little. I just think it needs to dry for a second. If it still does that, like if you're doing this, it still does that, then you'll know to add a little tiny bit more flour at a time until it's just perfectly. You don't want it to be sticky, okay? Which is a little sticky right now. So I'm going to give it a second to dry. If that doesn't work, we're going to put more flour on it. So I'll see you back in a second. Okay, let this dry a little bit longer. Now I'm going to pinch out a little bit more. You can see it has like a little bit drier feel now. And that's what I'm looking for, right? So I want to put it here like this. I'm going to close it. I'm going to make little street tacos, so I don't need to be really big fat pieces. I'm going to go halfway here, remember, like we talked about, and then we're going to flip it the other way and go again a little bit more. Now you don't want to smash this thing so it's paper thin. You want your tortilla to have some body to it, okay? So we pull this off. You see how that pulls off just super smooth like this? And then like when you just flip it with your fingers like this, it should peel off here. Like this, like that. That's what we're looking for. All right, I messed it up a little bit. You see how I left this little piece here? That's okay. It usually takes you 1 or 2 to get this thing right. So I'm not going to touch it because we want this thing to kind of, you can see it puffing. Do you see that? You've got a little puff going on here. This thing did not land flat, which is something I wanted to land flat. We're going to let that go for like 30 seconds, okay? So I'm going to pinch another one of these. Okay. And you can see it's puffing up nice like that. After about 30 seconds, we're going to flip it. Okay. And we want it to cook nice on all sides, right? So I'm going to go halfway here with this. Shoot. See on my thing, I didn't have my plastic down. Having a problem, right? Usually this has always happened, so don't get discouraged, because normally right when you start, you always make all these little mistakes. And then by your last tortilla, that's perfect. So you can see like how my tortilla is starting to come. And it just, even this plastic, the first time you use it, it's not as nice, right? So here, I'm just going to scrape this, and I'm going to flip it, right? Now, I want to scrape that off out of here as well. I'll stick it to the side because I'm going to snack on that. Okay, now what I want to do here again is pull it off of here. And like I said, as you're doing more of these, this plastic becomes perfectly kind of, there we go. And I dropped a piece of the, it's nice though. This little piece here is bothering me. There we go. Now I fixed it. Okay. Now, I've got my doughs drying up nicely. Now this is looking good. It's cooking on that side. And usually you have to flip them over a couple times. So I've got this one here. Okay. Press it halfway. Remember, like we said, turn it around the other way. A little bit more. Okay. Now it's undone. I'm trying to get the excess flour because you don't want anything sticky on you, right, when you're trying to pull this off, because then that's what, and you just kind of hit it like that. You see how I just kind of do it like this, and I want it to come off in my hand. And see how that one's perfect? Come off in my hand, then you slap it down. Now this one's been about 30 seconds, so I'm going to flip it, okay? And when you flip these, don't move them around a lot because you have the raw dough on the other side. Now this one's different. We can flip this one, and I'm going to turn it up a little bit. It's looking good as well. Now these tortillas, they're going to have more body to them, right? It's much more intensity of structure. You know, they're going to be very flavorful. The first ones too, like I said, like all of these, the comal is like, you know, the comal is also just getting seasoned. So what I'm going to do is let that continue to cook like this. And I scrape at the comal like this. And then all of this I'll just take off. Okay, like that. These are done. So that's done. So what you want to do is get, like, I think I have, let me see if I have, usually I like to keep these in a container. Like a little cooler is the best. If you have a little cooler, put a cloth in the cooler and lay them in the cooler, because the cooler will keep them warm. So you can actually make those in the morning time and then take them off later, and you'll have these warm tortillas. Now, again, you could rewarm these quickly on a hot pan if you wanted to beforehand, but they're beautiful like this. So I'll try one. This one looks, my first ones are looking a little, the flavor is what's amazing. The corn flavor that you get from this really good masa harina is everything. So with this, we want this to puff a little. One other thing you can do is tap kind of the sides of it. It probably needs a little bit more. It's starting to air up a little bit. I can see it slightly puffing. I would love it to puff even more. When it puffs, it's great, because what's happening is you're getting the surface side and the surface side on both sides sealed, but then like the middle still has moisture in it. So what happens if it's nice and thin, it will puff up and it cooks that inside with kind of steam really fast. And I can see it puffing right here on these corners, okay? And that's what we're looking for. So what I'm gonna do the first time is put it down nice and get a good puff. Okay, so stay with me. Okay, so here you can see this, we're working on some more. I'm just rolling the babies out. Again, with the ball, press it halfway down, get it mostly pressed out, then you come back the other way and just finish it off, right? So that way it's nice and uniform, okay? Once we do that, then we can put our tortilla on here. Now this one has been searing for about 30 seconds, it's ready to flip. Get it to puff a little bit. Sometimes putting pressure on the outside of this will cause it, like tip the outside edge here. See, you see it puff a little bit like there? It's just like you just tap it and it starts to puff a little. So basically we're done at this point. We're just gonna continue to kind of cook these until we're done with our dough again, right here. Just keep stacking them, all these warm ones, keep this warm this whole time like this. And once you get all your tortillas done, then you can set them to the side. If you want to wrap them in foil, you can put them in the oven a little bit before. You don't want to dry them out. That's the big thing. The beauty of these are the heat's coming off of that, and it's also not getting wet, because they've always put this in a cloth, or if you put it in a little cooler, put a cloth in there with it. That'll absorb excess moisture from the steam that's coming off these hot tortillas. So you're trying to keep them a balance from getting wet, but we do want to keep them like a little hydrated, but we don't want them to get wet from the moisture that's in there. Okay, so that's why the towel's there. So in this environment, if you put them back in the oven, don't just put them in there open air like that. Keep them wrapped up like that. You can wrap them in foil. That way they keep their moisture in there and they just be a little bit warm when you serve them. And it's perfect. If you really want to make these the day before, you could do that. You're just going to have to heat them up before you serve them. Okay, but like this is amazing. You can make them earlier in the day, then you'll have them for night. Make these in the afternoon. And then with this, you can make your favorite tacos, whatever you like. Fish tacos, chicken tacos, grilled carne asada. There's a lot of different things. So stay with me. Check out some of my future stuff. I'm making some beautiful sausage and pepper tacos coming up, and we can utilize this. So I hope you enjoy it. See you back soon in my kitchen. I'm Chef Dean Max.